The Roman army was tired and thirsty and low on supplies, but Crassus remained confident. While he was expecting to run into a Parthian advanced guard at any minute, he believed the main battle was still some days away.
But as he arrived near the city of Carrhae, his scouts told him that the Parthian army was approaching. Crassus was shocked by the news and immediately began to organize his troops into a defensive formation. His general Cassius suggested the legions form a long line to avoid being outflanked. At first Crassus agreed, but then he ordered them into a hollow square which could be defended against an attack from any direction. On each side he placed a wing of cavalry and infantry. One wing was commanded by his general, Cassius, the other by his own son,
Publius. Crassus had risked everything to become a battlefield hero and win the riches of the East. Now only death or glory awaited him.
53 BC. Crassus has led 7 legions deep into the Asian desert. He wants to be another Alexander the Great and march into India. But at Carrhae, the Parthian army stands in his way.
The Roman army had formed defensive squares. Most of the officers now wanted to rest their troops until the following morning, but Crassus' son Publius was eager to fight the enemy. Crassus agreed and urged his army on. His soldiers would have to eat and drink while on the march. Eventually, the Parthians came into view. From a distance, they appeared a ragtag bunch. There was little about them that inspired terror. This was because Surena had ordered his cavalry to cover up their armor with blankets and animal skins. Then, as they came close, he gave the order to throw off the covers. Suddenly, the Romans saw rank after rank of cataphracts, their breastplates and horse armor gleaming in the sun. Surena sent 1,000 cataphracts thundering towards the Roman square. But this was exactly the kind of situation the Romans trained for. Superbly disciplined, their wall of shields was impenetrable, even to the heavy spears of the cataphracts. Surena realized that the brute force of his heavy cavalry was not going to break down the Roman defenses. He would have to exploit his mobility and firepower. At that moment, Roman light infantry charged forward. But a hail of arrows from the mounted archers drove them back. It was a taste of what was to come. What happened next was like a scene from a Western. Thousands of Parthian horse archers began to surround the square, pouring thousands of arrows into the densely packed ranks. They used the composite bow. The composite bow in the right hands is a powerful weapon. It's made of different layered materials, like wood, horn, and sinew. This gives it more elasticity, which means that it can store more energy when pulled back. Its normal range is around 220 yards, but experiments have shown that in expert hands can be fired to around 440 yards. The arrows penetrated everything, punching through armor and shields. Hundreds of Romans fell. Arms were pinned to shields. Feet were pinned to the ground. They even fired backwards over the shoulder as they rode away. This was the Parthian shot, the origin of our own term, the parting shot. But the bulk of the Romans were still unscathed, sheltering behind and beneath their large shields.
Crassus knew that if the square held, the Parthians would soon run out of arrows. This was the problem with archers. They could play a key role in battle, but would eventually run out of ammunition.
Missile weapons in ancient warfare were nothing like as decisive as they had become in modern wars. Because of the low velocity, you could guard against them with shields. So it really was just a matter, usually, of outweighting the enemy's missile supplies.
But Surena had planned for this eventuality. Hundreds of camels loaded with arrows were brought forward to replenish the archers.
The Parthian logistics, the use of camels to bring more water and particularly more armaments in the form of arrows, really just stretched the Romans beyond their limits.
Crassus was now in a desperate situation.
The trouble was, Crassus hadn't had any military experience for the last 20 years, and that was where the great problem was, and he was old.
Crassus sent a message to his son Publius and told him to take 1,000 cavalry and 8 cohorts and attack the Parthian horsemen. Otherwise, the square would be entirely surrounded. When Publius advanced, the Parthians turned and ran. The Romans charged after them. Crassus and Publius thought they had the enemy on the run, but they were in for a dreadful shock. 53 BC. Crassus, the richest man in Rome, has invaded Parthia. He needs a quick victory to increase his political power back home. His son Publius has driven off the Parthian attack. Publius kept up the pursuit, but when the Parthians were some distance from the main battle, the horse archers halted. Then they were joined by the cataphracts who attacked the Romans from the